A Long Way by Carlotta Walls Lanier. I threw out my elbow to protect myself before feeling his blow. For some reason, though, his elbow hadn't moved, and to his astonishment and mine, he felt the sharp point of my elbow jab hard into his arm. He jumped back, red faced. You see what that nigger did to me? He yelled. I kept walking, hoping that the teachers monitoring the halls at that moment were as blind as they had been all the times I'd been tortured in the same halls. Fortunately, I never heard anything about it, but one of my comrades wouldn't be so lucky. It was December 17th, the day before Christmas break. When I walked up to the lunch table, I noticed that Ernie had just gotten there too. He looked more frustrated than usual and threw his box and lunch sack on the table. Minnie Jane was in trouble, he said. She dumped a big bowl of chili on the head of a boy who had been hassling her repeatedly in the lunch line. He and Melba had seen it all when a group of boys called Minnie names and blocked her path as she tried to make her way to her table with her lunch, Ernie said. Before he could encourage her to ignore them, he said he watched the chili slide from Minnie's tilted tray onto the boy's head. The entire cafeteria came to a standstill for a moment, and spontaneously, the black cafeteria staff erupted in applause. An administrator then appeared on the scene and whisked Minnie to the main office. Ernie said he hadn't seen Minnie since. The word was she'd been suspended. I felt bad for Minnie. She had been pushed to the breaking point, and I knew that it easily could have been any one of us. We were all tired of life in the pressure cooker, and at one time or another, every one of us had felt just one notch away from blowing. I nibbled on my sandwich for the rest of lunch. None of us felt much like talking. We were worried about what this would mean for Minnie, what it would mean for all of us. I learned later that Minnie indeed had been suspended and would have to reapply for admission when we returned for Christmas break in January. By the end of the fall semester, 4 students had been expelled from Central for causing trouble. Another 153 students withdrew, likely to avoid integration. About 2 dozen of them enrolled at Hall High School, the all-white school in a ritzier section of Little Rock, and a few of them eventually returned to Central. The news about Minnie's suspension put a damper on the beginning of the 2 week break from school, but I looked forward to the time off. Finally, I would be able to let down my guard, laugh freely, and enjoy my family and friends. 2 days before Christmas, I did just that when the 9 of us and our parents gathered at the Dunbar Community Center for a huge holiday celebration in her honor. The party was sponsored by the Washington, D.C. based headquarters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a national service oriented group of professional women and college students. The large upstairs room sparkled with red and white, from the festive lights and decorations to the dozens of women dressed in the colors of their sorority. I wore red and white too, a taffeta dress in a polka dot print. It was especially nice to see Mother and Daddy dressed in their holiday finery, enjoying themselves like old times. Before Central, they often got all spruced up for a night on the town, but much of the fun in their lives as a young couple seemed to have dried up. I missed the laughter that had been ever present in our home. Near the end of the party, a Santa presented each of us with gifts and encouraging letters mailed from around the country by the organization's members, who thanked us for our bravery and courage. I'll never forget that evening. It came at a particularly low point and reminded us all that no matter how isolated we sometimes felt at Central, we were not in this fight alone. As 1957 wound to a close, I realized just how much a world was watching us. I picked up the Gazette one day and saw a story that said the Associated Press had ranked the Little Rock Nine and our integration battle as the top story of the year in the nation, even bigger than the passage of the Civil Rights Act, the first major civil rights legislation since Reconstruction.